programs presented are submitted by members of our community and are a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect those of KNLY 91.1 FM, The Boss, and affiliates.
Thank God it's
Welcome to Today with Kashay. It's Friday, free for all. Our day to discuss social and business transformation in this digital age. I'm Jesus, your guest co-host. To my right, the lady of the hour and namesake of the show, also known as my better half, Kashay. What's up, babe?
Woo, woo! I like that. What's up? You're up. You're the man. What's up?
I'm just here, just to be glad to be in your aura, in your presence.
No.
In your presence.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you're here in my presence as well.
Likewise.
Okay.
Likewise. It's Friday.
It's Friday. We're here.
You did so well this morning in the workout. What'd you think about that?
Thank you.
Yes, you did. You did.
It was good.
My legs are still burning.
Well, yeah, but you use a lot more weights than
Okay.
I do. Oh my gosh. So anyway, loved it.
Yeah.
It was a really,
It wasn't Brian.
It wasn't Brian. It wasn't the boss man. No.
Yeah.
But it was a great workout. And I loved it because of the combination. It was a very good combination of both.
So Anel, which is the trainer there at Baby Bull, one of the guys. I think you mentioned the combination between cardio and weights.
Yeah.
We were sweating it, man.
Sweating
to the oldies.
We were sweating it to the oldies.
The oldies rap.
And our run, the weather was beautiful this
was.
morning when we got to do the runs in between.
It reminded me when we were doing during the COVID, the runs at Memorial Park.
I so enjoyed
early in the
that.
morning.
Early
in the morning.
I love that.
Early in the morning.
Love it.
Well, folks out in the listening audience, I have to commend my girlfriend Kashay because she's amazing. Other than being amazing, she finally became a true Amazon believer.
Oh wow.
Amazon believer.
Yes.
So you bought online.
Yes.
You used to buy online. Now confess, was Amazon coming a little bit later? I mean, were you a real active Amazon?
No.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to confess.
Okay.
I wasn't.
Okay.
Yes. But because I just, I am still the kind of touchy, want to go look at stuff
Sure.
In person. And I bought online, but Amazon just hadn't grabbed me yet.
Okay.
I don't know why, really.
Well, I know that you like, which is the Carbon 38. You love Carbon. So what are the top 3 sites that you visit that are not a platform like Amazon? I know you like Carbon 38. By the way, folks, Carbon 38, I've given a gift card to you, give a gift card to my sister, one of my sisters. Great workout stuff, for ladies. Yeah, very stylish.
Yeah.
What other ones?
I'll probably go to Saks.
Okay. Oh, Sex.com. Okay. Not surprised.
Because there's Carbon. Yes,
there
Carlos.
it is. There's Carbon 38.
Hot.
Yeah.
I do that. And then, what would be the main one? I also go just to sit down and check out my accounts and, the fidelities and the chases and all. So I do a lot of that but just shopping.
Shopping. Shopping for everyday stuff. I mean, you don't go to Kroger.com, HEB.com.
I'll be
you don't
honest
do anything
with
like that.
you, for shopping online, I don't do a lot of that. Amazon, I just broke into, did some grocery shopping, which is so exciting.
But I've been on Amazon Prime, me.
Okay, I'll tell you why.
Man, you were so lucky to know me.
I'm so lucky. I remember one day.
You're welcome, by the way.
Thank you. One day we were talking, and we were sitting there and we were having our coffee, and I was talking about going to the store to get some stuff, and I said, well, Suze, and you said, well, Kashay, I just go online and for
Do I really have that deep voice?
Well, no, you were saying I go online and I get these things, on the Amazon brand site, and then I go here to get these things at the store.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, what am I doing? So then I realized, wait a minute. Instead of me breaking my fingers and twisting them all up with bags, carrying them up with waters and all that, you made me realize, order my water, order my big paper towel rolls, order my big, wash, all that stuff, and let it just come to my door.
It's just the basic. I mean, everybody in the audience, I'm sure 90% are using, doing the exact same thing.
Carlos
and it's just Carlos, our producer, agrees. My sister that lives in Panama uses my home in Houston as her dropship site, if you will. So she orders on Target.com, orders on Amazon, ordered some supplies for my one of my youngest nephews, her youngest son, and it all came in, and she coincided, said, look, I'm planning everything coming into your house. When I get here, and I'm flying in, the stuff will be there, then I fly back out. So, I mean, just the convenience. I love the convenience. And then if you can also appreciate the quality and time that they've taken on creating the Amazon Basics line, toilet paper, paper towels, etc. I'm sure the audience is all over that because you're not really sacrificing on quality. I mean, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Once you taught me that, I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I did it, and it felt like so exhilarating because then I was like, I was waiting. And I was tracking it, and then I was like, okay, and then my water came, and then my stuff, and it was like, what the heck was I doing?
Spending time with me.
Well, before, I'm saying.
Oh, gotcha.
I was suffering. I had been suffering before you came. Oh. Yeah,
see, I just...
I know. You're just amazing.
Yeah, what can I say?
Okay. Anyway, so Amazon's great.
Amazon is great. I had read when... I go back to Jeff Bezos, the story about Amazon, back in the mid-'90s. Yeah. And he had made, I think it was in an interview or in one article that they wrote about him, was about that when he worked for a hedge fund, worked in New York, and when he realized how people were adapting, he said, when I saw the trend to the internet, when it was over 1,000% from one year to the next, people adapting, he goes, this is too big to ignore. And so I've got to create something around what can I do around the internet. And I think the genius behind a platform, because there's plenty of platforms around the world where Amazon isn't present. But the genius behind this is that the house is going to take a cut. We're going to provide the infrastructure. Anybody that's out there that sells on Amazon knows FBA, fulfilled by Amazon. They're going to take a cut on the transaction. Pure capitalism. If the product works, that's up to you, Mr. Seller. Okay, if it doesn't, again, that's up to you. At the end of the day, I'm going to provide the infrastructure. I'm going to provide the pickup, the delivery, the marketing, the promotion, the traffic. When I'm looking for a product to buy, I'm usually going to Amazon first. If I'm looking researching product, I'm probably going to Google first.
Right.
Okay, so there's a difference.
Let's say that again.
Okay, so if I'm researching services or products, I'm probably going to go to Google first. If I'm looking to buy, this is what they say about car. We talk a lot about car dealerships. If they're coming on their lot, that prospect is probably ready to buy if they're actually stepping on the lot. So think about it that way. If I'm going to Amazon, I'm probably looking to buy something. So that's one big driver for Amazon, is the fact that it is such a reliable platform that the traffic that's coming is already probably enticed to buy, or they're inclined to buy. They're inclined to buy. So I keep thinking about these companies like Amazon that realized the trends, what was happening, And you think about, this is back in the mid-'90s. So look what happened less than 10 years ago, okay? So 10 years ago, there were things that we almost can't live without today. That, I mean, in 10 years or less, they didn't exist. I'm going to share a couple of things, and I just want to get your reaction on some of this, and then also the audience is welcome to comment as well. We talked about Tesla on the way up to the radio station this morning.
We did.
Really? Okay. Tesla's first car was released in 2008. 10 years ago. 10 years ago. Yeah.
No, I don't think I
This also, now Tesla was founded in 2003, but the electric car didn't exist until 2008. Yeah, less than 10 years ago, or 10 years ago. This I didn't know. DNA tests began selling in retail about a decade ago. Did you know you can buy a DNA test?
Well, I knew you could buy through the, on Ancestry or
that's
online,
exactly right.
Whatever.
Yeah, the health and the Ancestry DNA service costs $139, and just the Ancestry DNA service costs $69. So health and Ancestry DNA costs $139. Yeah. Do you know what crowdsourcing is, babe? Or you've probably heard the word crowdsourcing fundraising. Okay, I mean that was called one of the popular ones. You've probably heard of Kickstarter or GoFundMe.
I've heard of Kickstarter, GoFund.
GoFundMe launched in 2010.
Okay,
exactly 10 years ago. Kickstarter in 2009. Crowdsourcing is really bringing in people, like-minded people, don't necessarily know each other, and providing providing the efficiency of mass, if you will, to provide. And if I say fundraising, it would be to raise funds,
right,
whether for a private or public project. But that right there is innovative in terms of raising capital. We talked about Uber last time. Do you have an iPad by chance?
So I've had one.
Okay, you've had one.
I have a mini right now, but I don't really use it.
What surprised me was the fact that the first iPad came out in 2010.
That's probably about right.
Okay, 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Are you I know that we're on Instagram and you're on Instagram. Yeah. Instagram went live in 2010, one of the most popular social media apps today. Snapchat was actually called something different in 2011. Have you ever used Snapchat?
I have not.
Okay, it was called Peekaboo.
Oh, gosh.
I know, and so we think about these apps that are today literally changing the way that we engage with one another, and you can't think of them in their original names. Yeah. When do you think the first Apple Watches were released?
Well, I got one.
Okay.
So
when they first came out?
I think so.
Okay. When do you think that was?
That would have been, if it's based on what I got one, it would have been like 2016, 17?
Actually, 2014.
Okay, so then I got it 2 years later. So no. Okay, wrong.
Here's the one that really impressed me, because you think about these items or these tools are they're just so embedded now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use embedded here in a second when I talk about another topic, because this will be a lead in to the next couple of weeks. But have you ever thought about using an interactive smart speaker like Amazon Echo at your house, or maybe there's one Google Home or anything like that?
No, or make sure I'm right on what I'm saying. Is
Okay.
that like having the Alexa or the
That's right.
Or because it's not like having the Sonos system.
Right. That I'm not sure about.
Yeah, because the Sonos I have, but the Alexa, I have not had one, no.
Okay, so they can do more than play music. So Amazon Echo, a smart speaker now they're called, was launched in 2014, and that release was followed by the 2016 release of Google Home.
Okay.
That is major.
Wow.
That's major, okay? Wow. So initially, the Echo, Amazon Echo, was meant to help you control your music only using your voice. But today, both the Echo and the Google Home can do a lot of things around your house. For example, turn on the lights, or on and off, or control on and off appliances. Step on, or clap on, clap off.
We've moved further than that, haven't we?
What do you think? I mean, what do you think that's leading us to, babe? I mean, if you think about all this, think about these smart, and I'm going to go into something that we'll close out the first segment, but what do you think when we're seeing this trend around smart appliances, because it's what they are, where do you think that's taking us?
Well, I mean, I think we're getting obviously more cutting edge, more innovative, and that more things are going to go that direction. The other thing that I think I'm hearing us say here right now is that they're going to start communicating with each other.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. You and I have been talking about for the last couple of weeks, and the audience out there has probably heard the term IoT, or the Internet of Things. Okay, so depending on how sophisticated an item is in your home. Okay, it could be as sophisticated as a car, or it could be as unsophisticated as a toaster. Each one of these items, and I'm not going to get too far into the weeds on the technical side, but each one of these things, items, have some type of embedded system that operates it. It could be something incredibly simple, or something as complicated where there could be over 1 million lines of code in a software for a car, especially the cars of today. So the Internet of Things, for the folks that are out there, the Internet of Things, if you've heard about this, the Internet of Things is simply a way for these embedded systems to speak to each other. Because the embedded systems have been there for a while now. Now, using the Internet, they can actually communicate.
So when I come back, I'm going to see the phone talking to the... I'm going to walk in and see my phone talking to my TV. No, I'm joking.
But let me tell you something.
I know what you mean.
It's actually not too far off.
I'm like, y'all stop talking.
It's actually not too far off, because one thing that the Internet of Things, the push towards that is driving, is artificial intelligence. And so there's going to be literally machine learning that's going to be adapted depending on how you use it.
Wow.
Have you ever heard about the dash button that you can put in your laundry room? There's a dash button provided by
do the clothes for you?
No, not yet. Okay. But there is one you can literally push so it can order the item for you.
No.
Tide had a button, I forgot what it was called,
know that.
but you could push it, said, okay, time to refill. And so they can communicate with whatever provider that is
so
and refill
cool.
it.
That is so cool.
Now, there's the dash button right there.
Oh
That's
my
through
gosh,
Amazon.
that
Very
is so
good.
cool.
Now, what if this technology knew that you were out or getting low on the detergent?
And communicated that to Amazon.
That's exactly
and
right.
Amazon put the order in.
You got
and
it.
it showed up at your doorstep.
That is a simple example of the
awesome.
Internet of Things.
That's awesome.
More time for coffee between you and I. How's that?
Don't we love our coffee time? Okay, next. Switch subjects, Cash.
All right, that's the end of the first segment. All right, folks. Anyway, interesting discussion. We're going to talk a little bit more about Internet of Things over the next couple of weeks. I think it's just a fascinating
Awesome.
subject.
That is a fascinating.
Fascinating. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
Cupcakes and Bubbles, located at 26400 Kirkendall Road in Tomball, Texas. Cupcakes and Bubbles has the sweetest and most delicious cupcakes for the entire family. From chocolate raspberry, strawberry rhubars, cookies and cream, and the most popular among kids, the s'mores cupcake. Come and enjoy our cupcakes with a glass of your favorite bubbles. Visit www.cupcakesandbubbles.com for the complete list of our delicious cupcakes. Order online through our webpage. DoorDash and Uber Eats is available too. Enjoy life's sweetest moments with Cupcakes and Bubbles.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY.
Turn on your glam today.
91.1 FM.
The Jenna Klein collection is here, elaborated with natural products. Give yourself a compliment with our organic lip glosses in more than 15 shades. With the Jenna Klein lip gloss collection, you can hydrate your lips and keep that glamorous look that you need. Turn on your glam. Visit jennaklein.com. And don't forget our skincare collection with natural ingredients that will improve the skin's appearance and prevent visible signs of aging. We have everything you need to achieve smooth and vitalized skin. jennaklein.com. Turn on your glam today.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Thank God it's Thank God it's
And we are back. Isn't today the day that we open up to 75%? I think it's today.
I believe it was
so
today
in
or was it
Texas.
yesterday? Yes,
in
today?
Texas.
Okay.
In Texas. And one of the topics that you and I,
Yes.
it's almost like a daily guessing game, babe, in
is,
terms
it
of
is, yeah.
which retailers are actually thriving or surviving.
Or gonna close.
Close
Right,
or
right,
whatever.
right.
Were you ever a Tuesday morning fan that changed?
No, I was not. Okay, I'm sorry, Tuesday morning. I was not a fan of yours. No.
Why didn't you like it, Tuesday morning?
For me, I'm all about quality,
Okay.
and for me,
Wow.
I felt like.
So serious.
Ta-da!
Boom.
So, and I don't mean that, and I just mean that if I'm going to go to a store or whatever to look for a deal, because I consider that a store where you go for deals.
Right.
It doesn't pay for me to go to a store, take the time and not get the quality and pay less.
Okay.
Because that's not, I'm not winning anything there.
Not worth the hassle, if you will.
But why am I going if I'm going to get something that's not high
Where
quality?
where would you go if it wasn't Tuesday morning, for example? Because I
Well,
think about it more of as a kind of a craft store.
Yeah,
No,
I
things
mean-
for the house, maybe some housewares.
yeah, I mean, I like some of those little, like, boutique-y, like, little, like a cool, I mean, you want me to say their names on air?
Whatever, that's okay.
I mean, like Lux,
your show. You
Lux
can do whatever you
Custom
want.
Collective here in the Woodlands, or Cool and Liscombe.
Okay.
Or those, so
Fair
Cool
enough.
and Liscombe in Houston, and I would say Lux Custom Collective here in the Woodlands.
Okay.
Those type of stores are going to be more for me, and I'm just going to wait for a sale or things like that rather than go to a Tuesday morning.
Yeah, Tuesday morning announced, and I'm sure it's not news to maybe some of the audience out there, but Tuesday morning filed for bankruptcy, and they announced it at the end of May,
Okay.
and they're going to close 230 stores. Now, if they're filing from bankruptcy, it doesn't mean that they're closing the entire operation. That's a
I'm
move
so
to
glad you brought
retrench.
that up. I'm so glad you brought that up because a lot of times I used to get frustrated when I would see a store say going to bankruptcy or closing, and then they would say, and then you would see them there like
Yeah.
2 years later.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, I thought you were closing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, people or entities can use bankruptcy process to renegotiate. In this case, they're using that as a protective move, legal move, to negotiate a significant number of leases, which is viable in today's age. How many people have we read about or companies that say, you know what, I'm not going to pay my lease, or I'm not paying my lease, for till next year, right? So they're going to permanently close 230 of the nearly 700. I didn't know they were this big. 700 U.S. stores in the United States. So I mean, that's a pretty big. That's a nice footprint. The other ones that have announced bankruptcies, again, doesn't mean that they're going to close entirely.
Right.
J. Crew, we talked about this, Neiman Marcus, JCPenney, of course, they all filed in May.
Wow.
Which leads us to the guys that are thriving. And one of my favorite type of format is the dollar store. Okay.
Yes.
So I've talked
the
about
dollar stores have been around for a while now, haven't they?
Actually, yeah, and the one that I have a lot of respect for, we're going to talk a little bit about. This one is Dollar General.
Okay.
And Dollar General has been around since the mid 1950s. They're owned by private equity now, but they recently announced they're looking to hire 50,000 new shoppers. So the question I want to pose, and I want to pose it to the audience, and we're going to talk about it, babe, is you're talking about, again, retail brands that before the COVID were either operating well or growing, and then you had these monsters, because these guys that were really thriving, they have over 16,000 stores, and they're opening average three stores a day, Dollar General.
So that says something.
What do you think it says? What do you think it says?
Well, it says a lot of things, but one, it says that they obviously have a smart understanding of how to manage their cost versus the revenue that they're getting. And,
That's right.
And be able to
very good
to create a surplus and stay alive. And the reason Dollar General, cost effective. I mean, in this where we're heading, obviously they're going to even thrive even more. But they were thriving before. They
were really kicking.
Because people want to save it.
Big time,
people want to save it, and they must have good quality products still there.
Well, they have, and I've been in these stores. I like to go to the store because it's such an interesting U.S. phenomenon.
I know.
This type of channel. But listen to this: each Dollar General store cost about roughly average $250,000 to open, compared to several $1 million for an average grocery store or big box retailer. You're already in several $1 million to open an H-E-B or a Walmart. Okay, now right out of the gate. Okay, because they do have basically a pre-existing, especially now, allure and traffic just out of the gate. New stores can bring in about 1.8 million average per year.
There you go.
The return is just immediate. Now look where they're located. They're not necessarily on the main thoroughfares. Okay, they're typically in areas where you're probably more of a cash-based neighborhood or demographic. Okay. One thing they do is they really hold tight on payroll. And they really work the folks to the bone. I mean, that's just a reality.
Interesting.
That's a reality. I mean,
it's an interesting fact that you bring out here, because it goes back to, substance versus fluff. At the end of the day, you can have this amazing, beautiful, all this stuff.
Right.
But what are the numbers saying? At the end of the day, what are the numbers saying? And that's what matters.
That's exactly right. So, since it's owned by KKR, the folks out in the audience will recognize that name as a leading private equity firm. They bought the company in 2002 from the founding family for $7.3 billion. Top line for this company, for this retailer, is about $40 billion. They are a major player. Major player in that particular specialty retail.
Would you tell people, or not per se would you tell, but would that be something if someone is looking to open a franchise to consider because of that?
As far as I know, they don't offer franchises.
Oh, they don't.
However, let's talk about the dollar stores in general.
Okay.
So you've got the players. You've got Dollar General.
Yeah.
You've got Dollar Tree that bought Family Dollar to defend share and to pick up more share and compete against Dollar General. Then you have a whole slew of independents. Okay, in that dollar category. But it's becoming much more mainstream, babe. Yeah. You can go into Dollar General and they have their own private label line. Earlier we talked about Amazon's private label.
Right.
So if you're satisfied with the private label peanut butter, why wouldn't you change? Especially if it's, $2 a bottle, So, but they also carry the name brands that you and I know: Cascade, Tide, Charmin, etc. So you have to make the decision on where do I want to shop, basically. Where do I want to shop? They also have an online business, and there you go. There's Family Dollar
people go
online.
To Walmart all the time for savings.
Sure,
so
they do.
Why would you not consider going to a place like that to save? At the end of the day, are we trying to be smart with our money, or are we trying to just throw it away?
Right.
That's the question you have to ask yourself.
So let me ask you this: you've got. Also, there's another one. I used to shop at Brooks Brothers. I think this is a Brooks Brothers jacket, as a matter of fact. And Brooks Brothers also announced that they would probably be filing for bankruptcy as well.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is a brand or a retail brand that
been around forever.
Since 1818,
Wow, I didn't know that long.
and made in the U.S. Okay,
Wow.
products made in the U.S. So think about it: Brooks Brothers, Toys R Us,
Sure.
which came back. Now the stores were closed.
Okay.
And if you went into a Toys R Us a couple of years ago, it wasn't a fun shopping experience.
Right.
Okay, I mean, I remember going in there for a gift for my nephew, my youngest nephew, and you couldn't get service, the lines. It wasn't an inviting retail experience. So, because of the debt load, because Brooks Brothers is going and working through some debt, as well as Toys R Us, all of a sudden they're teetering. Okay. So you have to ask yourself, which companies before COVID really were, they appeared to be strong versus, entities like Dollar General that really are strong.
Yeah.
So when you hit a crisis, whether it's a hurricane, an earthquake, or a COVID, then all of a sudden you're thrown into this this time of crisis and not being able to survive.
Right.
So really, how strong were you?
Right.
And if you eliminate some of these players, we just got through with a series about negotiation. What do you think happens in negotiation if you're selling your product? Let's say you're the Tide guy. You're selling Tide.
Okay.
You're selling to retailers that are going out of business, and you've got the Dollar Generals that are still standing.
Okay.
What do you think happens to power in that case? Where do you think the power shifts?
Well, it depends. If you're willing to come down on your price, you can keep your power. If you're not, then it switches over.
The Dollar General's going to kill you on price, man.
Is that the answer?
They're gonna kill you on price.
No, well,
so talk to me about the power. Where do you think the power resides? Because all of a sudden, if Dollar General is down the street, then you've got another retailer that's selling the same Tide. Then you've got somebody else, and these two other guys down the street just can't survive, or they're closing store. Dollar General now in that area becomes, that primary provider for the product.
Sure,
okay,
sure.
What do you think happens to power in that case? You're negotiating. You're a territory manager. What do you think happens to the power? Who's got the power?
Well, obviously the Dollar General store has the power, but again, it depends on if you're able to come down on your price to compete. Chances are you're not, because of the overhead costs that you're probably up against versus what Dollar General. Back to the numbers.
Yeah.
You can always, if I was selling, leave that and go work for Dollar General and sell there and say, hey, you know what? I'll be back tomorrow. No, I mean, the reality is, I mean, obviously the power shifts.
That's right.
It shifts.
Yeah. You have less actors, basically,
because you just
in the
told
chain.
me that person can still get the same product, the Tide,
Yeah.
at the Dollar General.
That's right. So, but all of a sudden, Dollar General is saying, hey, there's less players in my area.
Right.
In my area, my cluster, they call them clusters, my cluster, there's less other operators. I'm the guy in this town, in this zip code, in this area, and I'm driving the most sales for you. I need this price point, okay? What can I do as the brand owner of Tide? What do you think I could do?
Well, they're probably going to have to negotiate a certain price with those type of stores versus a Target type of box store, right? I think because you just said if Dollar General goes to them and says, hey, I own this block.
Right.
And Tide still wants to sell on that block.
Sure.
Then they're going to have to come up with a different price point to sell the Tide. So somebody's going to either take a cut between Dollar General and them, a different price than they would with Target.
Yeah, I have options of going online. I can buy Tide on. Or I could redirect some of those marketing dollars and sell directly to the consumer through a platform or my own website or online. Exactly, you could do that.
Forgot about the
I can also look at maybe doing private labeling for Dollar General as well.
That would be the
Yeah, so
other.
you know what? Maybe I should just get in bed with these guys.
Yeah.
And if there's a private label opportunity, maybe I can compensate it for that way. That's another way.
That's another way.
That's another way.
Very
That's
good,
another way.
very good.
Yeah. So
Negotiation.
that's a very interesting story because it's not always about price. It's about what are we trying to do and achieve here. If they want a financial return, a total financial return, maybe isn't necessarily on working on the price, but giving them more giving them more of an opportunity for their own participation as the brand owner in their own stores. And I'm still getting the business, except it just doesn't say Tide anymore. So you have to look at the overall value. Look at what exactly are we getting at? Okay. Excellent discussion, babe.
That was fun.
Very
That was
good.
Very
Good.
informative.
I got a fun one next on the next segment. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we will be right back.
It's time to change. If you like country, we play it. If you like pop, we play it. If you like Latin music, we play it. If you like rock and roll, we play it. Because no one does fusion music like we do. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
It started as a dream. When I was a little kid, I always wanted to have my own restaurant. And it was a dream that finally we had the opportunity to build it here in the Woodlands. And I'm so happy with it.
It's a really authentic Italian food. I try to maintain the most original possible. It's very important. Every day I make my fresh pasta.
Chi mangia bene, mangia italiano. Please come and visit us.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Thank God it's Thank God it's
Are back. What'd you think about that discussion
That was
around?
very, very informative because, you know, like you said, you have to think about the whole picture when you're negotiating.
That's
and
right.
You're doing. It's not just always one direction about price.
Yeah.
It's good to think about. But it was a very, very good.
That's why I always tell folks that I've trained, I said, what is the real story here?
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell people that I've trained, I said, give yourself the runway. Give yourself time to really understand. Give yourself time to think what's happening in the other party's world. And then bring those issues to the table and say, tell me about this. Tell me about your expansion. Tell me what you're really looking for. What are you trying to achieve inside the stores? If you've ever been inside a Dollar General store or the other Family's Dollar, it's not a big footprint. They're small. Yeah. So literally, babe, every single square inch has to deliver value of some kind. Right. If you've ever sold through the club channel like Sam's Club, Costco's, BJ's, or anything like that, that's a finite space. You know, the frozen fish in the frozen section has to deliver a certain amount of margin, gross margin, for the buyer. So you have to be, careful about that. So, yeah. So you know that I am a Gillette brand fan. Yes. I'm a big Gillette fan, but I switched over to, they got expensive, so I went over to Harry Shave. I'm plugging Harry Shave because I went online. But you and I are also fans of, how companies got started. Okay. Companies got started, okay? So the founder of Gillette, I want to talk about this because the early days of Gillette, there he is, King C. Gillette, which is King Camp. That's his full name. Okay. He founded Gillette in 1901.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we're talking about a while back. But this is how he started. He was actually a traveling salesman for a cork company. But he noticed this, and this is what I want to talk about this for a little bit. Okay. He noticed that bottle caps, because he was selling cork, but he noticed that bottle caps, which were already around in the late 1800s, were used once and thrown away. And then the bottling companies had to buy more bottling caps. Okay, and it made him recognize the value in a recurring usage. Okay. So if you think about the blade, okay, sure. You're buying the handle and you buy the blade. That's and they're so expensive. Jeez. Look at that's your first reaction.
I mean, why?
Why so much?
Why?
It's marketing.
I mean, no, because I know people have to shave.
That's right. That's one. Okay, but also it's also around the brand. Okay. Frankly it's overpriced. So if anybody that's a fan of Dollar Shave Club, phenomenal and genius, especially the viral videos that they created. Okay. And I'm a Harry Shave fan. Okay. Why? Because I refuse to pay that much for blades. But I think the story is interesting, and it plays on what's happening today. Wow. He also noticed beyond the fact that there's the first one in 1900. But he also noticed that along with the fact that the bottle cap idea, buying bottle caps over and over again, bottling companies, he noticed that you could create a model around recurring, revenue, buying it over, and just selling in bottle caps over and over again. He also noticed that men needed to shave and sharpen their razors every day. So he said, why don't I put together a blade that could just be disposable up until it was dull, and then I just replace it with another blade. There's the original prototype. Okay, right there in the you could see it up on the screen. And he spent 6 years.
Oh my God.
6 years perfecting the safety razor. Despite pessimistic scientists and tool makers that said it couldn't be done.
Wow.
Okay, so think about it. In 1895, he saw the value of a possible model, a new model of business.
Yeah.
And then he spent 6 years. In 1901, so this is now 6 years later, he created the Gillette Safety Razor Company. Okay, and he didn't begin selling until 1903. So now we're talking about 8 years later. This is about 8 years later. The first year he sold $263. The second year is when they received their patent for the blade and for the handle, and he sold over $400,000 worth of razor sets and or kits, razor sets and blades.
Wow.
So he was onto something, obviously, and look at where it is now. The brand value of Gillette today, over $23 billion is the value of Gillette. What do you think about that? Think about what things call out to you considering what he went through, his vision, the exercise of perfecting the blade, and going for it. What comes out to you, babe?
Well, number one, if you believe in an idea,
right.
Number one, I think you have to, if you're passionate and it speaks to you.
Yes.
And no matter what you face in opposition, you have to stick with it.
Yeah.
And number two, you have to, when you say stick with it, you have to follow through.
Yeah.
And you have to deliver, because once you deliver, the reward is amazing.
That's right. That's right. One critical piece here is the fact that they received a patent.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about patents here in just a second, because we're going to go into a topic that I again, just intrigued on how 3D printing is operating today. I asked you about that earlier this week.
Yeah.
But this story spoke to me.
Okay.
Because I remember working for a consumer products company. That's my career. I have a sister, the older of the two. She also has made a career of working in consumer products. I told you she sells Lego, for example.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we had the biggest issues with was creating prototypes. Okay, so think about this. He had to work 6 years to perfect the razor in a way that it was safe, and then it could be mass produced.
Right.
One of the biggest things, and we'll talk about this in the next couple of episodes, is what really What helped the United States surpass England during the first Industrial Revolution? That's coming over the next couple of years. A lot of it was around scale. Okay. It was around new distribution models and manufacturing, but it was around scale. So he had to perfect a razor that was safe, and also that he could mass produce. So 3D, babe, today, and I'm not going to get into the technical side because there's all kinds of 3D printing, but 3D printing really came into its own about 10 years ago because there was a key patent that expired that allowed for a lot of private companies to create viable retail type 3D printers that people could buy. I have 2 friends, babe, that have 3D printers.
Right.
And one of them is in Katy. And one thing that he did during the COVID was play around with the printer and create a cool plastic mask. Okay. That's what he did. Yeah. I have another buddy, which is Ryan up in Dallas. If you're watching, Ryan, hope everything's going well. Fetch Fix, the product that Fetch Fix, he has a 3D printer that he played around with on the second floor of his house. He bought it for a couple of $1,000s, but the 3D printing today, babe, is becoming mainstream.
Wow.
And they're using it for things like creating musical instruments that work. The other part is human tissue and viable body parts.
I'm done.
I mean,
are you
seriously.
kidding me?
No, I am not kidding you. One thing that really caught my attention was prosthesis, artificial legs, artificial arms. Now they can be created to the person's body type.
Oh my God.
Okay, so the 3D printing, and we'll talk a little bit about the technical side of 3D printing next week. But when you can apply 3D printing also in a mass production scenario, and let's start with the prototypes. Before working in consumer products companies, we had to create a ceramic prototype, probably created overseas because it was cheaper. Okay, well, you had to wait for that ceramic prototype to get back to your facility, and then you had to share the prototype or share the sample to the largest clients, and you hope it didn't get broken during the when it went on FedEx or when it air travel or whatever. When it came back, I usually got it. I was at the end of the totem pole, so I got it when it was chipped. But when you can create a working prototype, think how much faster Gillette could have come out with something like that and actually tried it. So something that this really helps in is that the development time used to be years of putting time into product development. Now it can be reduced to months. Very general. What you do is you create a computer-aided or a CAD file, a 3D file. That code provides the printing to the machine. So the code is embedded in the machine, which starts the printing process. I visited a plant in Italy earlier this year, and that particular plant was actually cutting a mold that they were going to use the mold to create high-end fenders and replacement parts for high-end cars. So that I saw the machine cutting the mold. It's a similar process on 3D printing. I saw it. It would cut the mold, a steel mold, for 7 days.
Wow.
So it worked literally around the clock.
It
just kept cutting until it created the mold, and then you inject the plastic, which created, for example, the fender. But think about the development time. The development time is so reduced now to a working model. It literally is a working model. To do that with tissue, to do that with body parts, to do that with organs. I mean, that is just incredible. I can't
even imagine the organ part.
I mean, isn't that food? You can do that for food. You can create sushi. I mean,
stop it.
No, seriously. I mean, you really can.
You make me some. We're gonna buy one, and I'm gonna make us some sushi out of it. Maybe not. Notice, maybe not.
maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
But what does that tell you? Because we're going to get Ryan. Again, my buddy up in Dallas. He's going to be on the show.
Okay.
Maybe hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
He doesn't know yet, but he will.
Okay,
but think about what do you think is the impact just from a mass production standpoint? I mean,
well, I just think that supply and demand. So if the demand's high with that kind of ability, the supply can just be turned out so much quicker.
And you can also be custom made. I read about a guy, and that's a great point. I read about a guy that sells skateboard lights. Anybody that's a skateboarder out there?
Lights,
he sells skateboard lights, but he makes them out of a 3D printer. And so there's companies, there's one called Formlabs, which is now do whatever you want. I mean, there's actually, people are getting in the business, new business folks, they're getting in the business of buying a machine, if you're creative, if you can do the coding and create on CAD software, then you can create an item and then submit it, and you can sell prototypes. People, hey, I need a prototype done. Okay, I'll do it for you in 3 days. So there's a business right there. There's a business. So that is incredibly powerful.
It is.
So because now, babe, there's almost no secrets left. Seriously, there's almost no secret. We would say this when I was back in consumer products, actively working. There's almost no secrets. The one thing that will set you apart today, the one thing, if you're a big player like Harry or a small player like Harry Shave or a big player like Gillette, the one thing that you can control is speed. That's the one thing that you can control, because there's very little secrets left. You could look at a trademark or look at a patent, but you not be able to copy it, or you're going to get in trouble. But think about what you can control. You can control how quickly you can turn, how you can adapt. Look at the COVID, but how quickly you can do all that, and so that provides it.
Interesting.
We're gonna get into this. We're gonna get into 3D printing and the Internet of Things over the next couple of weeks. Fascinating time in business. Fascinating time. We're gonna take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your Fusion Radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
When you walk into a business meeting, you have to leave your emotions out the door.
Okay.
Turn off.
Yeah.
And don't bring your emotions in. I was always taught that in business, working, starting early at age. I was always taught, don't put your emotions in. And I think that's a very good point, because it's not about you. It's not about how you feel, how you think. That's all fine after you get out. But it's about the deal at hand.
Right.
And making sure you effectively execute.
So we're still human, and you're still going to get mad. You're still going to get angry.
Sure.
You're still going to be stressed.
Sure.
You're still going to be uncomfortable. You might still be nervous.
Right.
You might still be anxious.
Pause.
And pause. We talked about that. Pause. Exactly. Use the pause to control the behavior, because we're still human, and there's still going to be a reaction, especially if somebody is overly aggressive, if somebody is silent, if somebody is borderline rude, whatever it is.
Sure.
Whatever it is. I want to share a story, because this is actually, when I saw this quote, I want to share a story that I saw all of this in action.
Okay.
And this was last year. I was negotiating with a contractor. If anybody's had some really interesting story with contractors, that can be besides car dealers, you get some remodeling. This is personal. This is remodeling.
Okay.
I'm looking at remodeling my bathroom, my master bathroom in my home. I got a lead off of Angie's list.
Okay.
I had the contractor call me. The young lady was very nice.
Okay.
She got some details for me. So, came out, took some pictures, and came back with a quote. The quote was excessively high. I'll say that it was over $23,000. I thought, for us, like, okay, this seems high.
For a bathroom.
And for a bathroom. So maybe. So, maybe not for your bathroom.
No, I'm joking. Go ahead.
But my youngest sister, she and her husband have done a lot of remodeling. They bought a new home in another state, and it's just beautiful, and they know what they're talking about. I presented the quote to my sister, and she said, you could probably do these things on your own. This is about right. That's a little high, etc. Preparation. Remember when we talked about preparation?
Sure.
So I called the contractor back. They came out on a Saturday. And this time I asked the account exec, or the rep, to bring her boss. Okay. Her boss happened to be Latin American. I'm Latin American. So as soon as they knocked on the door, he thought that he was going to get in my good graces just because he was Latin American.
Okay. Shame on him.
Not happening.
Yeah.
Not happening. So what I did was I used silence. I use silence and another technique that I say, get inside their head.
Okay.
So I had my computer out, and we sat at my kitchen table, and my computer was facing me, obviously because I was working on it, and I had created a little spreadsheet saying where I'm going to open, plan my moves, and then each step of the way, I was just going to move the drip. Remember we talked about the drip? Move slowly towards to see how far where we could meet, preferably closer to my opening bid.
Okay.
My opening bid was $11,000. I opened way low.
Okay.
And it shocked him. And I made him some coffee, but I wasn't really engaging. I was just kind of short answer, yes, no, maybe. And so we went through this for an hour. And I remember him looking at me and looking at the computer because I kept just punching away, and there would be silent moments. At certain points, they kind of looked at each other like, what's going on here? Finally, where we landed was at like a little over 16. Okay, well then, I'm 7,000 off the original bid. That could work. He accepted it. As a matter of fact, I even gave him a check for money down. We'll begin next week and start scheduling the work. I called on Monday. This was on a Saturday. I called on Monday, and I said, hey, so-and-so, when are we going to get started? You have my check. Well, we're not going to be able to do the work. That's what she said on the phone. I said, what happened? Well, the price that we agreed with you is under our cost. What went wrong there? What do you think went wrong? Because obviously I didn't do the work.
I'm not sure.
And let me give you a hint. Let me give you a hint.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't me. Let me give you a hint.
Yeah.
Give me a hint. The minute we actually shook on the deal.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll do it for $16,000 and change. The minute we shook on it, he said, can I ask you a question? What have you been typing for the last hour? Okay. That's what the owner said. Okay, so whose head was he in?
His own head. Right?
His own head.
Right. Trying to figure out what was going on.
Exactly. So the tactic that I used it could be in a folder, it can be on a spiral notebook, and it can be on your calculator, whatever. He was trying to figure out, what is this guy calculating?
I'm just curious why they agreed and then said they couldn't do it. Usually.
And I asked her the same thing.
Yes,
and I said, if the owner was here
and he
agreed to it, was he just showing off for you or what?
Yeah.
We got caught up in the moment, and he wanted to close the deal. When we came back to the office, we figured out that we had agreed on something below our cost.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to give you my takeaways on this.
Sure.
Okay, my takeaway is this.
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't work with him.
Yeah, obviously.
Because let's say, for example, we would have settled on an amount that I would have been comfortable with. What if...
He would have said, there's some additional
Exactly.
costs.
Yeah.
There's some more.
So what if, because I was traveling a lot at that point. This was pre-COVID.
Okay.
What if something would have gone wrong with a remodeling and I would have had an issue? He didn't have the guts to call me himself on Monday and say, hey, Jesus, kudos to you as a negotiator or whatever, and say, I can't do it for that cost. I could probably do it for this.
Yeah.
Will this work for you? I would have had more respect for somebody saying that to me. And I would have, and I said, well, what? And I told her, I said, what happened? He agreed to this.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know you were going to open that low, and it took us by surprise. And I said, but he agreed. He goes, yeah, but it was a mistake on our part. We're so. I said, I can't believe it. So number one, I'm happy that I didn't work with him. Number two, you're allowed to be wrong. Remember one of those rights?
Oh, yeah.
If somebody would have said, I was wrong with that bid, here's my bid. If I can still compete for it.
That was a very good point.
This is what I can do.
Because maybe at the time, here's another way to look at it.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought, okay, 16 would have done it. They could have figured it out. He got back to the office, and you're right. He was, I don't know him, but he seemed like a coward. He was a pusillanimous. He should have called you back and said, hey, you know what? I got back, looked at my materials, and realized I was off on my numbers.
Right.
Can we still work something out here? That would have been business.
I would have been more than open to listen to him.
Yeah.
May or may not have gotten the deal. However, I was still open, but he'll never know that because he didn't pick up the phone.
Right.
He didn't pick up the phone. So the takeaways here are, number one, we believe in God and thank God above, because if I would have been traveling and something would have gone wrong during the remodeling, what would have happened if I wasn't there? Who would have picked up? I would have found out about it when I got back.
And you would have had a bill, and you probably would have been paying $30,000. And they would have been like, well, here's what we had to do.
Right.
And this is what we did, and this is what it costs, and this is where you're at.
Yeah.
And somewhere down there it would have said if this deal goes over, you have to incur, and you would have been smart you.
Well, smart. The man upstairs was looking down on us. He always does. He's always loves. Any lessons for you, babe, in that one, in that negotiation?
Yes, I'm
the
just going to
contractor.
always have you do my negotiations for me.
You're better than me. You're better than me.
I'll first sit with you and we'll go through what we're going to pay for the house and the costs and all that.
Yeah.
So at least I get my budget established together with you first, and then after that, I'm just going to sit back and say, okay.
But think about but if you think about it, if you just put a little bit of time, it's not complicated.
No.
What were the things that came out today?
Yeah.
Silence.
Sure.
Preparation.
Sure.
Okay. Getting inside the other party's head.
Yeah.
Okay. And planning your moves.
Yeah.
Planning your moves, because the thing about the moves was more psychological for them. Let them say, what did this guy work out? I didn't have necessarily a big rhyme or reason behind that. It was all about throwing them off and seeing what I could do to slowly get closer. And
what was the number you wanted to pay?
I would have been open on being maybe within 16 to 17,000.
Okay, so
because the work was actually presented very well.
Okay,
it was actually very well, but I wasn't going to play 23. There's no way for that.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Interesting.
Yeah. Today is Friday,
It is
babe.
Friday.
What does that mean?
It is our day.
It's
is
our day.
to decide.
Every day's our day.
Well, every day's our day. Okay, but I mean, to the audience and to the listeners, they know this is our day to decide where we're going to go eat and drink and tonight and all that.
Well, I tell you, now go back. Could you put the picture back up, Carlos? So what I wanted to talk about that we didn't talk about enough when I talked about unique margarita recipes, I think over a month ago, was what about these popsicles, man?
Because I told you I was
we have a
party.
week of sun. We have a week of sun coming up.
Popsicle
So
party.
I'm going to lay out. Let's see. I'm going to share with you four styles, if you will, of popsicles. Salted watermelon margarita popsicles. That's one.
Interesting.
Mini margarita pop shots. That would be fun at a party.
Those. I would love those.
Yeah, those would be fun.
Yeah.
What about mango margarita ice pops?
Interesting.
Those would be good. And I love coconut creamsicle margaritas.
Okay.
Next week, we're going to have the recipe up on the board or up on the screen so people can check it out. Okay, now there's one here for you, and I thought about this one for you. It's not a popsicle, but this one is called blackberry lemonade margarita.
Oh, I would love that. All three ingredients.
Why do you like lemonade so much? I mean, you're a lemonade freak.
I don't know, babe. I don't know. I think, you know what?
I think, what's the name of the store across the street, the juice place?
Oh, Earthcraft or whatever.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a taste to me that's so refreshing.
Yeah.
And it has such amazing health benefits.
That's true.
We're talking alkaline,
yeah.
Acidic, and has the ability to alkaline the body. So it's a win-win.
That's why you look so good.
Thank you. Thank you, babe. Well, what's your secret?
My secret is just working out with you, good skin, just sweating a lot.
Okay.
We sweated a lot this morning at Baby Bowl.
Yeah, we did. But you know what?
And the runs outside were good because it was nice
the weather was great.
70-something. It felt good.
Well, you know what? I was having some fun. I want to see what we would look like if we were characters. Carlos, can you?
Oh, there it is.
Look at us. Okay.
There's our avatars.
So there
right
we
there.
are.
Yeah.
There we are.
Are my eyes really brown? Let me see.
And maybe those aren't quite your lips.
Are you sending me kisses or are you sending the audience kisses?
Well, they're to you.
Oh, they're to
You're
me
catching it.
And not the audience?
No,
okay.
Look. I blew it to you.
Got it.
And then you caught it.
Oh, okay.
So on the actual,
well, that's nice.
On the actual live.
That is so sweet.
On the actual live thing, it shows like you're going like this.
Oh, on the actual app.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, and it shows you going like this, taking it. But yeah. So what do you think about us?
I think I need a haircut. Maybe I think I need a haircut. Do I need a haircut?
You want me to redo your haircut?
No, it's
the amazing part about modern technology.
That's
innovation,
right.
I can just
now they're going to 3D print us.
I can switch it up. Let's do that next week. We'll have 3D printers ourselves.
Gift card.
Gift card. Don't forget, everyone. Not next week, but the week after next, we're going to be selecting a name. People have to comment. I don't know. People must not like me, and they're not commenting. Comment.
They don't like you. They love you. Come on.
Do your comments. We do have some. So whoever has commented thus far's names are going to go into the hat or the bowl or whatever we choose.
Yeah.
But anyway, come on, do some more comments. I want to see the get filled up and a lucky winner on June 26th.
Very good.
Is that it?
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
happy Friday.
Happy
It's time to wrap
Friday.
it
It's
up.
going to be a great week next week. All sun. It's a great day every day.
That's right. Just like
It's
today.
sunny.
We'll have some fun tonight.
That's right.
Yay.
On the margaritas. Maybe
All right.
another tamarind margarita.
Maybe. All right, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank God it's Thank God it's
Watch us live in our